Can you hear me now? Sorry about that. I'll have to back up a little bit then. Ugh. I did not have my mic on. Sorry about that, everyone. Let's see here. Plan 9 from Outer Space. There was major influence on George Lucas. Um, well, I don't know, major influence, but it was. War of the Worlds definitely was. And it's influence on pretty much all the filmmakers. It was actually a radio play that turned into kind of a national phenomenon. There we go. There's the original soundtrack to Star Wars, and it was a major hit. It was on 20th Century Records. By the time they got to the second film, it was actually on RSO Records. And John Williams did the soundtrack to all three of them, and actually to the prequels. We'll pull out the CDs one of these days. But after that, it was all on marketing. And then there's the original, well, the middle trilogy, but the original ones. Let me know if you can hear me now, if someone can leave a comment, but I'm pretty sure I got that fixed first. And then that was the Blu-ray version. There's a Blu-ray of the first 6 movies. And it had the rework version by George Lucas, so he had to keep tinkering with his films. I know that's kind of a bone of contention for a lot of fans. But then he fully got into marketing. Realized he had a cash cow. So I've picked up a few artifacts over the years. There's the first film's DVD release. And let's see, and there's the Attack of the Clones DVD release and the Sith DVD release 3. And again, thanks to my stopping at Goodwill on the way home, I picked up a few weird things. This looks like, best I can tell, is a Korean version. And it actually has some of the Korean and other people they're listing on there. It's a DVD 9, which I'm not I think it's a different format. It does play here, but it lists all the names of the actors in Korea who actually did the voices for the movie, which I thought was interesting. And I watched it once. It's actually a slightly different edit. And let's see here. Then we got into the return, the new things that came out. The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. Hey, Scott. And then then there's the one-off stories, the Rogue One and the Han Solo one. But some of the weird things I've picked up over the years, go over that and talk a little bit about some of the other stuff. So somewhere before DVDs hit, I used to have VHS, but there was a format called CDV, which was still pretty analog, but at Goodwill I picked up sometime last year, which is kind of cool and interesting. It'll play on your computer. Actually, it might play on my DVD player, but it is the CDVD version of The New Hope, Return of the Jedi, and there's New Hope, sorry, and The Empire Strikes Back. It's pretty analog dumping, but it is the version before George Lucas started tinkering. And then I picked up the Ewoks Adventures, which is apparently kind of hard to come by, and it's kind of sketchy, made for children, and not very not up to standards. It was a made for TV thing. When Wilford Brimley's involved, it's something special. I don't have the Christmas special, but these have the Ewoks, and they said they were marketing to children, and it's kind of doesn't follow the storyline of the other stuff. One thing I do have is a few years back, they did put out all three of the films. It's not the very best dub of it, but you get the first three are the middle three films. It's got the original audio and the original. Oh, Lisa, original sound, original video. So you can see before George Lucas started tinkering and updating. In some ways, I think some of them were actually nice cleanups for it. And then we can go into some of the other weird albums. Once it took off, at the time, everyone thought science fiction was dead. But it definitely influenced others. And then the Superman movie came out, kind of brought science fiction back. And then the Star Trek movies came out. So I got the soundtrack to Wrath of Khan, which is kind of a cool one to have. And Disney really wanted to cash in on, so they put out The Black Hole. It's actually a pretty dark film. Don't know if anyone's seen it recently. But it's a pretty dark film, but they definitely had had a much cheesier look to it. The robots looked kind of Disney, so it wasn't very realistic, but and they got John Barry to do music on that. I've got that somewhere. And then The Empire Strikes Back, they put out these albums with all three of the original movies. Again, it was all about marketing and sales. George Lucas figured it out pretty quick. So these were the story albums for children. So there's The Empire Strikes Back. I've got The New Hope somewhere. And then television really wanted in, and people, Buck Rogers in the 25th Century was cashing in. You missed Jesus Christ Superstar a few weeks ago, D. You'll have to go back and watch another video. That was Easter. And then, so other movies that really tried to cash in, Flash Gordon, which the only really good thing about this is it has Queen did the soundtrack, had a couple nice songs. Said, and again, the TV cash-ins were Battlestar Galactica, the series. Got the soundtrack to that somewhere. Forgot who did that soundtrack, but it's actually a pretty decent soundtrack. And there's Battlestar Galactica in 1980 when they actually made it to Earth. But they really kind of pulled it in there. And then the best parody of it that I know of, and I'm sure most of you have seen, is Spaceballs. Actually, it's still a very entertaining movie. Has a lot of touchstones of the movie and other things. And on television, I actually remember watching this. I was still fairly young. There was Space Academy. They were trying to cash in. They were trying to cash in big time. This one actually sells on eBay for quite a bit. It had the gentleman who played Dr. Smith on here as like the teacher. And then they did a second one, Jason of Star Command. I don't have that one on DVD. I wish I did. But they made that more of action adventure, and they hired Scotty, James Doulahan, for that. This, I was looking online. Something interesting about this is this Wizards movie. If you look at some of the characterizations in the animation, it looks similar to some of the characters that ended up in Star Wars. And apparently the people working on this were working in the studio next door to Pinewood Studio in England. So George Lucas was well aware of the artwork and the people involved in this, and they were well aware of Star Wars. So they kind of stole a few things from each other from that. And then the last thing, and I'm going to go to this, and I'm going to share it in the comments here. I was reading up online, and I had never heard of this, but there is apparently around 1980. I have to do comments after I leave it. Actually, I'm going to leave it right here under Kathy's here. If anyone wants to check it out. Let's see here. Paste. There was in Turkey, apparently, they really wanted their version of Star Trek. I'm sorry, of Star Wars. Well, that was the wrong link. Not that it's a bad link. Let's go back here. Go to that turkey stuff. All right, there we go.
At a time when few Western films made.
Anyway, Turkey wanted their own version of Star Wars. They couldn't afford it, but they had a print of it. And this producer stole a copy of Star Wars and a couple other films, wrote their own story, and did really cheesy green screen and put it out there. Why does it keep putting the wrong link in there? I will fix that. Add that to yours, Kathy. But it is well worth checking out. That Turkey made, spliced together all kinds of films to make their own Star Wars, and it actually has a cult following now. And it is just horribly produced. And like I said, they just ripped off the story and re-edit and put some Turkish actors in green screen on top of the film of Star Wars. And the Star Wars print they had was anamorphic, so it doesn't even match at all. It's just horrible. So there it is. So there it is, and everyone stay safe here tonight. I said I will add that Turkey Star Wars link in there. Like I said, it is well worth checking out, and other weird ripoffs of that. At some point, we'll get into the Christmas special. I've got a lot of Christmas stuff, so we might have to do like a whole week and a half or 2 weeks of just Christmas CDs and stories. Anyway, thanks for listening. Everyone stay safe. If you're going out more, be careful, keep your distance, because there's still a lot going on out there. And be kind to people, and things will get better. Take care. Have a good evening.